there was always success at the end, a way to make, people successful. And it was a really important lesson for me to be able to watch him and help employees grow and become successful, within the organization. I really learned a lot from that experience, and took that as something that I think is important to be able to do.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow? Do you think about your employees every day, every night? Do you lose sleep about how do you develop them so that they don't leave the company? Well, what we're talking about today is turnover or employee retention. Employee retention is one of the key factors that you want to be measuring at all times. You want to know where you stand. You want to make sure that you create the right experience for your employees because they are so valuable to the company moving forward. If you lose that talent or that knowledge, it really is hard to replace it. It could take you up to 6 months, many research standards say. Now, what we're going to talk about today is some interesting factors around employee retention. I have with me one company that has put a lot of emphasis on this. They do a lot of things right, and it really is going to be exciting to share this with you. Today, we're talking with Jeff Hay. He's the founder of RDI Technologies. They create some specialty form video that allows you to measure the movement. He's going to tell you more about that. But what I want to tell you about Jeff is he really puts his employees first. He understands how important they are to the overall growth of the company, and he really makes an intentional effort to not only grow them from within, grow their skill sets, grow their confidence and their courage, but also to grow them the value of that they are inside the company. And that really does mean that he's got a long, healthy retention rate that you want to look at and model from. So RDI Technologies was number 33 on the 2019 Inc. list. As you know, I only interview the leaders from the Inc. 500. They grew at just over 6,000%, a little over $7 million in revenue in 2018. So that really is an exciting kind of company to talk to. And I really appreciate you being here to tune in to more retention or increased retention with Jeff Hay. Now, before you run, really want to remind you that if you haven't already applied to be a part of the next Growth Think Tank Live, then you want to make sure you go to growththinktanklive.com. There's some more information on there. You can't just pay your money and get in. You have to be a fast-growing company. You've got to be a founder, a CEO or COO. You've got to really, truly want to evolve and grow as a leader. Those are the requirements. If you think it would be a good fit for you, it's a small, intimate group of people that are getting together, and we're going to do something really amazing. We've got 4 of these over the next year, so every quarter we're going to be doing something different. So I look forward to having you check out growththinktanklive.com. Now here's the interview with Jeff. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Gene?
I'm great. Glad to have you here at Growth Think Tank. I've already introduced the audience to you a little bit, but I want you to give a chance to tell us about RDI Technology. So where did that idea for this business come from?
Yeah, so RDI was founded in 2013. So we're a computer vision company. So some of the early work was done while I was at the university. And so I was at the university working on some technology that would ultimately, be piggybacked off of to create what we are selling now. And so from there, I was introduced to some people in industry, and you started the company to bring the technology out of the university and sort of get into the company's hands.
Well, tell us exactly what it is, because it is a very interesting way you use video.
Sure, yeah. So we have an underpinning technology called motion amplification. So what we do is we take normal video and we make all the motions that are in a video visible by the user. So things like a motor that you can't see move, you can actually increase their motion in the video and see how things are moving in a video. Users take that to their facility, for example, a factory floor, anything that has like a motor or pump, and they use that to diagnose machinery and see what's going on. So for example, unplanned downtime is much more expensive than planned downtime. So if they can diagnose a machine, know how it's behaving, and then implement a fix for when they have a planned downtime in the facility, then they can implement those fixes when the machine's already offline.
Well, that gives us a pretty good idea of what the actual business is. You have about 26 employees. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. Currently, we're at 26.
And you made it to 33rd on the 2019 Inc. list, which I'm always impressed. I mean, that's like 6,493%. For our audience is kind of wondering, like, how is that even possible with 26 employees? What would you say?
Oh, well, I would say a lot of hard work. There's always a little bit of luck in there. But, we've got a really good dedicated team that are really strive to create a good product and really work with a great customer base.
Now, I talked to a lot of Inc. level leaders. I mean, I only interviewed Inc. 500 on this show, but I talked to a lot of Inc. 5000, and they're more proud of their retention numbers or the fact that their turnover is so low than they are of their growth rate. Is that kind of the same camp you're in?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I usually think we've got 3 pillars for our organization, and one of those are our employees. So really, they're the lifeblood of the company, and they're what makes it work and on a day-to-day basis.
What are those other 2 pillars? Just so
customer and products. So we really strive to create the best products for our customers and stay on the cutting edge, the forefront of where the technology we're in, and then also customers. So of course, customers are key, and they all feed on themselves.
Now, I ask this a lot. I don't ask it as much anymore because I kind of heard it so many times. But as a leader, what's more important, your team and employees or the customers?
I don't know that you can have one that's more important than the other. I think both are critical to success. I think a good team to be able to implement, what it is you're trying to do. But of course, you have to have the customers there to be able to buy your product. And then we leverage our customers quite a bit for feedback as well. So we pride ourselves on communicating with the customer, staying in touch with the customer, and being involved with them so we understand what product they need and what kind of needs we need to meet for them.
Well, let's dive right into this whole retention. So, why would you put so much effort and time and money into retaining your employees as you have?
Yeah. So, the employees for me and for our organization, I think are what makes it tick. I think that they are the piece that is able to fulfill fulfill essentially the customer needs and be able to take our product, and get it to where it needs to be. So whether that is just simply customer support, and being able to interface with our customer, or making sure that the product itself is to spec and to standards.
Now, do you track the actual turnover rate or retention, or is you just got a really good track record of keeping the same people for a long period of time?
Sure. I think we have a really good record of keeping people for a long time. And we're a small enough company with 26 employees that, it's, if someone were to go, it's easily noticed, and so that's a piece to it that we like to make sure that not only is the employee a good fit for the company, but the company's a good fit for the employee as well, so that there's a level of understanding, when an employee comes in, they know what to expect.
Now, I'd love to know a little bit more about how you do that. How is the company a good fit for that employee? Yeah, so
when we bring someone in, usually there's several layers to meetings. I mean, every person that comes into our organization meets with a large variety of people within the organization. They meet with the management team, the entire management team, and then they filter through different groups within the organization to get an understanding of what what the company is like, what it would be like to work for the company. One thing that I like about the hiring process in particular is putting someone who might be coming to join us in front of current employees to let them ask questions. I think it's one thing when you're going through a round of hiring to tell someone what it's like to work at our organization, but it's another thing for them to be able to just hear it straight from another employee.
And when you think about the core strategies of keeping that retention rate, right where you want it, what are those?
I think it's keeping an employee engaged and making sure they're not only are they meeting their goals for the company, but also they're meeting personal growth. Allowing them to have personal growth with an organization, and making sure that their job satisfaction or what they're doing is engaging them in a way that lets them perform at a level that they want to perform at, and that's good for the organization.
I'm smiling when I hear you say this personal growth element, because I think it seems like it's a natural thing to do, but I don't think as many companies do a very good job of tuning in to how that individual person wants to grow while they're working there. Is there something you guys do that you feel like allows you to do that better?
Well, I think sometimes it's just as simple as talking to people, just engaging them and listening to them. When it's kind of interesting when I always feel if you just talk to people, they'll tell you, sort of things that you need to hear or what they're trying to say. It's just a matter of listening. So sometimes it's just for me, it's as simple as touching base with people and having conversations with them to better understand where they are. And sometimes even a small communication can go a long way into matching expectations or adjusting something along the way to increase somebody's satisfaction.
Do you have a regular cadence of that or some kind of rhythm that you would share with us that you feel like works for your company?
Well, everybody that within our organization sort of that's in charge, manages people, have their own way of handling it. But on a general basis, the management team itself touches base with how things are going with people to get a sort of a pulse on that, to make sure also that there aren't areas that hey, this employee is indicated to me that they have more interest in doing this over here, and so the sort of managers can talk and help move things around if need be. Sometimes if just talking with someone, you learn that they might have an interest moving horizontally with an organization and just doing something a little bit different. And if you were planning to hire somebody for that spot, it's just as easy to have to adjust your hiring position and move someone over to get to satisfy that role. And then you've also had been able to increase their job satisfaction because they're doing something they're more interested in.
I hear a lot of leaders kind of complain about, well, I'm so focused on so many other things and I don't have time for touching base kind of conversations, those one-on-ones that are, I don't know if they're scheduled or unscheduled. When you guys make time for them, or you do them weekly, monthly, quarterly?
I would say it's more of like a monthly thing. It depends if we're trying something new. It might be, on a more, weekly basis. I personally am a fan of having specific stand-up meetings that you do on a regular basis with certain employees, just to make sure there's nothing, on the forefront, just to be able to to have a pulse on what's going on. In terms of suggesting you don't have the time, we kind of come back to the pillar, the employees are just a pillar of the company. And so they are just as valuable in my opinion as the customers. And so I think for someone who would be customer focused and, they would, and answer a phone call from an important customer, as a customer, late at night or on a weekend, I don't know why you wouldn't extend that also for your employees.
Let me pause there for a second, because Jeff talked about mini interviews. Now, I know that you probably have some structure for your interviews, but if you really want the best employees, you want to make sure you have that structure dialed in and you actually know how to follow it every time so you can find out where the breakdowns are. I had an interview with Ben Wright on the show a few weeks ago, or maybe months ago now when you're listening to this. And Ben talked about only hiring tens. And so you can find that interview. It's in July of 2019. If you want to find out more about the interview process, we can go right there. Now back to the interview. I totally agree with you. When you think about mistakes that you've made in this journey, anything come to mind that you're willing to share with us today?
Well, just on this theme of retaining employees and employees, I think, we are going through a stage of rapid growth. And I think that it is really easy to fall into the trap of thinking you just need to get bodies. You just need to hire people to be able to fulfill certain needs. And I think sometimes it's important to just, put on the brakes and say, hey, let's make sure we get the right person in here for this position, and make sure we understand what that need is. The people that you hire now, especially for a company like us where we're growing, we have 26 employees now. The people we hire are the future leaders of our company. They grow and take leadership positions, and I think you always have to keep that in mind when you go through this process.
Get the right person. That's a really big, easy statement to say. Yes, of course you want to hire the right person. Of course you want the right skills, the right talent, the right culture fit. But how do we do that at scale when we have to? Well, I will tell you that you don't want to bend your rules. You don't want to hire someone just because you need to fill that position, because it will cost you more money in the long run. It'll cost you frustration. It'll cost you wasted training time. It will cost you and possibly customers. It will just so many things it will cost you. So you want to make sure that you are doing everything you can to get the right people. I had a great conversation with Horst Schulze at one of my leadership intensive events a few weeks ago, and he mentioned something. I want to share it back with you. Horst is a co-founder of Ritz-Carlton, and he talked about letting go people. And the question came up was, do you know when to let someone go? Now, here's the simple answer. Letting someone go really comes down to this. If they came into your office tomorrow and they said that they no longer want to work for the company, would that upset you? If it doesn't upset you, then it's probably not the right person. They're not in the right role. And really, you need to think about, should you let that person stay at the company? Because you not only want to hire the right people, you want to keep the right people, because if you're growing fast, you really need everyone firing all together, aligned together. So I share that with you. It's just a small little tidbit to help you be the best leader you can be. Now back to the interview with Jeff. Yeah, I love the fact that you brought this up, because, just hiring bodies, I think some people think, oh, well, I think they can do the job. But most fast-growing companies really put a high emphasis on it's got to be the right fit. It's really, I'd rather kind of take our time than just put anybody in that position. So it sounds like you're in the same agreement with that.
I do. You get the right person in for that position, and get out of their way. Get out of their way and let them do their own thing, and you've solved a problem as opposed to creating one.
Any uncommon approaches you've had that you could share with us?
So we do training for our product on a regular basis. One of the things that we do with our employees is, so we'll have a group maybe twice a month come through to train on our product, and we take them out to dinner one night. We always encourage and invite anybody who's in the office to come to dinner with us. And so on a regular basis, we have people take us up on that. I think that that's become a very popular thing with within our organization. I think that it's really nice to be able to create a community, but it also allows our customers to talk to our employees and our employees to talk to our customers. I think that the customer feedback loop is really important. And I've really noticed how important that is also to employees to be able to speak to our customers. I, for example, do a lot of conferences. I go to a lot of conferences, and I hear a lot of people talk about our product, get excited about our product. People like using our product. And sometimes, it's easy to forget, that you get used to hearing that, but your employees don't often hear that as well, sort of that feedback, the excitement that the customers hear when they use the product. So getting our employees in front of our customers, I think, is always a good thing.
That sounds like it has a lot of advantages to it, other than you've got community part of it, you've got that feedback loop, but you also have hearing these great stories that they're really making a difference with the product and the work that they're doing, which always helps.
Yeah, it's always spurs interesting conversations. I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say, "Hey, I was talking to so-and-so and they were telling me how they use our product, and isn't this interesting?" And then, sometimes that sort of small little thing takes a life of its own.
The price of a few meals, inviting these employees probably really pays off at creating the kind of culture that you want in the company.
Yeah, it's become something that I think really people really enjoy and look forward to.
Oh, I love to wrap this up with, as leaders, we all have these defining moments that really push us and kind of challenge us. Is there anything that you could share with us that you have gone through, Jeff, in your journey of fast growth?
Sure. Yeah. So this is actually something that occurred to me not while I was at this company, but in a management role. When I was going through college, I worked in management at a parcel delivery service, and I had a manager there that I really respected and learned a lot from. And he had this really uncanny ability of taking employees that were struggling and taking it upon himself to make them a success story. And I watched him, take on this responsibility. And he had this philosophy that there was always success at the end, a way to make, people successful. And it was a really important lesson for me to be able to watch him and help employees grow and become successful, within the organization. I really learned a lot from that experience, and took that as something that I think is important to be able to do.
Is there anything specific you can remember that you could share with us about creating a moment where your employees are a success story?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had spoken with employees before where, they've not been happy necessarily with what they're doing. I think it again comes back to that fulfillment. It was interesting because a simple conversation with a few other people within the organization to suggest, hey, are there things that this person can be doing that you have that a need for? And there were, and so this was something that for that employee, this was a really big deal to them. This was a daily issue for them in being able to, come to work and feel engaged and feel happy with what they were doing. But it was really just, to solve that problem was really a simple conversation with someone else within the organization to find out, hey, there's a need over here. Maybe we can fulfill that and have a win-win. And we were able to do that.
Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking your time to share some insights and tell us a little bit about RDI Technologies, and appreciate you being here on Growth Think Tank.
Yeah. Thank you, Gene.
Wow, what a great, fantastic interview. I really appreciate some of the details that Jeff shared with us about how do you retain these employees. I really love the fact that he talked about the specifics of inviting employees along to these customer dinners. They're coming into town. Employees are going to be there. It really helps many different ways. I really just think this is fantastic because it increases the ability for them to understand the customers, create that feedback loop, creates relationships. It creates a little bit more of awareness of where the company's going, the impact that it's making. It gives them some new ideas about new products, and it allows them to really serve them better. So there's many factors of why you want to invite those employees to dinner. So don't worry about the cost of that. It really pays off in spades when you have the right kind of mixture together. Well, I really appreciate you being a part of Grow Think Tank. As always, lead with courage, and I'll see you next time.